Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and today we finally have some Kill Team Salvation news. Now, I've been away for a little bit, so I actually missed a few other things. So before we dive into today's Warcom article, I want to very quickly cover the price that Salvation and Killzone Beta Decima have been revealed at, and then also the jungle rules, super quick. Here you go. This is, if you have not seen, the Kill Team Salvation price is £80, the Killzone Beta Decima is £75. This means that if you are buying both of them, if you're a collector like myself, then you are spending more money this time than you have in the past seasons. However, it has also been confirmed already, as we know, that the Killzone for this season is going to be the same for the whole season. It's Beta Decima. So we will not have to, in 3 months' time, buy a new Killzone. Therefore, if you're a collector, you buy everything, this season is actually going to work out cheaper for you, but you will only get the one Beta Decima Killzone terrain thing. But then, presumably, your Killzone, your kill teams, are going to be £80 each quarter, and presumably will also have additional narrative pieces that work alongside Killzone Beta Decima. And in fact, we get a little bit of a hint at just what exactly the Killzone may have in today's article for Warcom, so we will get to that in un moment. So let's power through. There you go. £80, £75. What's that going to be in dollars? I don't know. GW is crazy. I can't even go and just type in, what does that mean? We then also had, just very quickly, this is in the latest White Dwarf article. So we have Jungle Warfare. There you go. This is the fluff bit. Then this is how you actually use the cards. It's just a D6 thing. There you go. And it says, it says the bog standard boilerplate stuff. You can use this alongside any other format of the game. You can use this in your campaign. You can not use this. You can use all 6. You can roll on the table. You can use 1. You can use 2. Do whatever you want. Cool. And then if you bought the thing, we also then have, not this, not this. These are the 6 cards that came in the White Dwarf, which is nice. You know, it's nice to have them. They did have all of this in the table as well. But there you go. If you're playing narrative, these seem like a fun little way to include Jungle Warfare in your games. Personally, I think that the Kill Team, the rules guys, have done the best job they could, considering the Games Workshop does not produce jungle terrain. Now, I would have liked them to produce jungle terrain, and then this essentially be a free little kill zone and say, hey, look, we're not going to give you the jungle terrain in the official kill zones. We're not going to release that to you as a box. But if you have it, here's how it works. But they don't have that. And obviously the most amusing thing here is a typo, but it's an imagery typo. If you look at the terror squirrel there, there was a white square as opposed to a white circle or a blue square. Hilarious. Hilarity ensues. Great. Thank you for everybody in my Discord that went ahead and posted those to there, because that's awesome of them. Okay. Kill Team Salvation. So basically, there is a lot to go through in this article. Also, we had note over on Sunday saying that Kill Team stuff's happening. Kill Team Salvation is going up for pre-order in 2 weeks' time. Firstly, it's super weird. I don't think they've ever done that before, apart from maybe for like a main game release. But saying, normally, on the Sunday, it says, this is going up for pre-order next Saturday. This time, they've told us it's going up for pre-order in 2 Saturdays, which I believe is the 23rd. I'm not going to look at a calendar. Let's just imagine it is. But either way, it's that weekend. And yeah, and I think they also said it was going to be a long old pre-order. I can't remember though. Maybe I'm just plucking that thread out of the air. Anyway, cool. Oh, also, we will see later in this article, but they also mentioned it this week. jam-packed kill team. We're going to have a Warhammer Plus battle report and the data slate. Mad. Okay, cool. Let's go through it. So, in this article, they essentially tell us the Killzone Beta Decima Killzone rules. So this is a rules article. Let's crack through it. There's so much that I want to actually just read it because I considered like summarizing, and there is a lot of fluff. Like these top two things are just telling you the fluff of how we got here. Then you've got a cool picture, but I'm definitely going to get things wrong. So, for example, I read the article and I was reading it and I was like, your missions now take place across treacherous, spume-slicked gantries and platforms, as the kill zone is a lethal third dimension where height matters if you want to draw a bead on your foe. And I was like, okay, this could mean that the kill zone, you're able to push people off of it because it's spume-slicked gantries, right? Like, okay, they've finally given us full damage. Falling's cool. We had that in the last edition of Kill Team. We have that in Warcry. We know it's a cool thing. When being high up on something has a potential negative effect, like if you're within 1 inch of a thing, cool, that's a good thing. And it's not like the last edition of Kill Team where you have 1 wound and so falling sucks, to be honest. It's like Warcry where falling takes some wounds. Great, love it. Never gets mentioned again. So, there you go. Okay, nice. Also, being high up always mattered. Oh, well, I guess they didn't have it in Into the Dark, did they? Okay, never mind. I see where they're going with that one. Now, compared to Into the Dark, being high up matters. Okay, fine. But let's clarify, vantage points have always been very important. So, the large hazardous area in the center of the double-sided game board, I wonder what's on the other side, is a key feature of Killzone Beta Decima. As the name would suggest, this zone is treacherous terrain for everyone. Nobody is allowed to set foot in the foreboding, warp-tainted seas. Everyone loves a good taint. You'll need to use raised walkways to traverse the center of the kill zone and dash, jump, or fly between them. So this is super interesting. It kind of implies that, we've seen the layouts before, and it looks like there's no gap. Oh, sorry, there is a gap. The opposite of what I just said, in fact. There is a gap between some of the platforms. Here, kind of says you can dash between them. So this fear that we had of having to make jump tests, maybe not a problem. We can just perform a dash. And then maybe it'll be like a little penalty, like you have to dash. You can't do a normal move, so it's like a guaranteed jump test almost. Or almost like you're having to traverse the gap, so just pay a 3-inch penalty. Hence, you dash. That's cool. That's good. Because let me tell you this, if you have to jump between them, that's a terrible idea. Because for those of you unaware, a jump test is very simple. You move to within 1 inch of the edge of a thing, and then you can jump. This can be done during a move and a charge. That's fine. And on the roll of a 1, your action stops. So whether you're moving or charging, that stops. That's stupid, obviously, as a gameplay mechanic, but it is what it is. So it's good that they're kind of implying here that if you dash, that's not going to happen. So that's cool. Let's read hazardous areas. So, we've seen this before, and we see that there is a line around the central sea. I put sea in quotations because, just to my eyes, just so you're aware, that doesn't look blue. It actually, if I'm honest, it just looks like a different texture to everything around it. So, I don't know. I don't know what it's meant to be. Hazardous areas restrict movement as strong currents and toxic water prevent operatives from entering into the ocean, and lurking predators stop them from venturing too close. Hazardous areas also restrict line of sight as relentless waves, sea mist, and industrial smog make it harder for operatives to see targets over the ocean surface. So, sorry, I did skip one thing up here. You'll see past warp-tainted seas, there is an asterisk. We can go to the bottom, but it says something like, that's right, even a dozer can't punch you into the sea. Good. I like that because that is a great rules clarification, and I'm sure the rules writer saw the article and said, guys, we forgot to put this rule anywhere in the book. Put it here. People will reference this. This is basically an FAQ. We shall see. So that's good to know. Cool. Right. The toxic ocean spray and industrial. Cool. Yep. Restricted line of sight. Let's crack on. So we can't move into the hazardous area. Nice. When determining line of sight from an active operative on the kill zone floor to a target, you know what? This rule would be easier to pass if I didn't stumble over my words. Try again. When determining line of sight from an active operative on the kill zone floor to a target operative on the kill zone floor to floor, the target operative is obscured if a cover line drawn to it crosses horizontally over 2 circle of a hazardous area. So this means that if your line of sight, your cover line, goes through 4 inches of the hazardous area, you're obscured. Cool. I believe we've actually already had something similar to that in Killzone Morok, but I can't remember exactly what it was, but I called it. There you go. And then we have a nice diagram. Love diagrams, big fan, 10/10, we're bang. Good to see. When determining line of sight from an active operative on a vantage point to a target operative on the kill zone floor, or vice versa, the target operative is obscured if a cover line drawn to it crosses into and out of the footprint of a gantry. However, ignore the footprint of gantries the active operative or the target operative are on. Okay, so right. What's being said is that if you're shooting floor to floor, you have this huge thing in the middle of the board that makes the whole board obscured, essentially. As soon as you are on a vantage point, that is gone. You do not have that. You have come to peace with it. And then you are looking at the gantries. And notice that it says, where is it? Sorry. The footprint of gantries. That's interesting wording. If we scroll up, let's see what they say. Let's see what we have. Okay, looking into the back of this picture here. You see these? These gantries, which just, I mean, this is clearly artistic interpretation, but this stuff here is not in Killzone Beta Decima. So this is clearly just for fun, just for funsies, that's fine. But these gantries, this one here, this one here, this one, presumably these ones at the back as well, this stuff here. The footprint, we can assume, means that you're kind of viewing the gantry, the platform, from a top-down perspective. So even though, yes, you see this little scout here, I assume it's a scout, who knows, we can see him. And it looks like you're going to be able to have full visibility, full line of sight on that bad boy. However, because your cover line goes through this kind of top-down projection, the footprint of the gantry, it doesn't matter. So, that's potentially very good. I like that as a good little rule, as a way to give the board more line of sight blocking. However, we're going to have to talk about it. Obscured. This here, you're floor to floor, you're obscured. Through the footprint, you're obscured. Okay, and then we have some narrative stuff, which and a mission, which I will talk about. But I need to have a quick rant, because I am going to read the narrative stuff. Let's be clear. You know me, I'm a fluff bunny. I'm all about that narrative, son. Obscured. Huh. I wonder, perhaps, if that's going to cause an issue for the game. You see, chaps, obscured is a great rule. I love it. Brilliant. I think that it works really, really well with all sorts of terrain type, and it makes, yes, perhaps you could argue the feels badsy of the non-reciprocal shooting, but if you ignore non-reciprocal, just the concept of being obscured is really cool. I love it. However, there are, in most teams, there is a sniper operative. And typically, there will be a way for this sniper operative to ignore obscuring, okay? And this means that if your board is very dense, with very thin walls, chances are it's going to be fine because it's dense and you can be concealed next to heavy. You're fine. Cool. However, if we look up at the top here, depending on the orientation of some of these gantries, there's not actually much heavy. And if we look in a moment, literally a moment, we are going to look down at the placement of some of these gantries, and maybe we will factor that into our reasoning. Again, I have read this through this article before. A few things concern me, and this is one of them. There are also entire teams that can remove obscuring. On a normal map, my noobs, when a sniper is put on a vantage point, it tends to be quite dominating, and it's entirely possible that the domination of said sniper is very psychological. It's not that the sniper is actually going to do much, and in fact it would be worth your while moving up, tapping the point, and then taking the shot. Right? Like, you'll just say, fine, you kill my guy, I've swapped a guy for a VP, yeah, that sucks, whatever. But because you've got that sniper on that vantage point covering that particular objective, it's a big issue. That's a whole part of the game process you have to learn to get better at the game, to kind of advance from just being a noob who's never lets the sniper have a shot, going over to figuring out the risk reward case of, okay, I should let the sniper take the shot because actually getting a VP for a scrub guardsman, that's a worth a trade, right? However, I present my findings to you in the two most obvious cases because that's easy for me, and that is Phobos. Their incursors naturally have ignore obscuring, and so if somebody wants to just run 6 incursors, they're free to do that. It will make them a very annoying skew team to play into, but in reality, you're always going to face 2. Arguably a skew of a 3rd. So the skew, you're always going to have the marksman, that's an incursor. They probably also always going to take the demo, not the saboteur, the demo guy. Yeah, the other mine guy. He's also an incursor. And then perhaps when you see that you're playing on this kill zone, instead of you will skew into the incursor leader. I think, honestly, a pretty good skew on this map, because you want him stood at the back anyway so that he can keep tapping CP for you, and then he can double shoot hitting on 2s, ignoring obscurity. Get on my dick, bro. Fuck yes. Anyway, and then, sorry, obviously also you have, what are they called? Pathfinders. Hey, they sucked for a year. GW said, nah. No longer, bruh. An entire team whose kind of core ability plays off of visible instead of obscured. They are going to guarantee to marker-light your entire team, or just the operatives they want. You know, they can get 5 stacks on any operative they want. How do we know that? Let's take a look at this. Here we go. So we see. So this is quite interesting. Sorry, I should finish with a point. So look, we're going to have to play it a bunch. We're going to have to see how it goes. However, just kind of from a conceptual point, I can see that they might need to FAQ it so that instead of if you're over 4 inches, you're obscured, just change it to be if you're over 4 inches, you are not visible. There you go. There you go. Easy. Same for the gantries. If you're over 4 inches through the hazardous area, you're not visible, and if you have to draw a cover line through a gantry, you're not visible. Done. We then get mission 1.1. Now, there's something I want to point out before I continue this. Sorry, I was getting carried away with talking about positioning and layouts. Here we go. Do you see here? A campaign is just a fancy colouring and exercise without its missions, however, and Salvation comes with 9 new critical operations that take full advantage of the Beta Decima terrain to inject verticality and movement options into your game. So ignore the second half of that, because that was PR fluff. No. 9 new critical operations, my good sirs. Sorry, my good chaps, chapesses, and chapai. Critical operations, in case you've forgotten, is the phrase for the matched play version of the game. Spec Ops is what they say for narrative. And that's what everything from Into the Dark was. You got a new Spec Ops campaign in each Into the Dark book. Now, they're saying we get Crit Ops. Interesting. I really wonder how this is going to interact with our current Crit Ops, Tac Ops, right? So we can in fact, you could just look at this. This map layout obviously would not work for many of the layouts, the deployment zones, the etc. that we have for the current. Oh, sorry, it's not the Crit Ops, it's not the Tac Ops pack. What is it? Is it Assorted Operations? I can't remember. But the new thing that they've given us, which is still just Crit Ops, Tac Ops. What? Tactical Operations deck, right? Whatever. The competitive deck that we all play. So, they've said, okay, fair enough. Now, when you play on Killzone Beta Decima, you're not using those, you're using the Crit Ops missions that come in Kill Team Salvation. Cool, fine, lovely. However, what are we doing with the actual Tac Ops from the Crit Ops pack? Right? For Killzone Beta Decima, because we're going to be using their critical operations pack from the Salvation book, is there some wording in there that says, oh, although you're using this critical operations, make sure to use the Tac Ops from the critical operations deck, as opposed to the original core book? I don't know. Be interesting to see. Also, there's kind of a very interesting thing here. So, reading through this, again, I shan't bore you by reading the text on the page. I've already done that well enough with my word, with my head. Basically, it kind of implies here that Mission 1.1, Loot the Rig, is a Crit Ops. Maybe I'm misreading, but I think it implies that Loot the Rig is a Crit Ops thing. And if we look at it, what about this map shouts narrative instead of Crit Ops, instead of match play? Can you see it? Well, one of the things that was of concern to me personally when we saw the Salvation reveal was obviously, what was it? The narrative terrain sprue. I thought it was very dull, very boring, very cringe, obviously. However, I can't help but notice that there are no objective placements on this map. In fact, it kind of looks like the narrative terrain from Salvation is on the competitive map. Okay. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm misreading it. Maybe Loot the Rig is in fact a narrative thing. I don't know. It's weird. We shall see. Anyway, and then at the end it just says, oh, by the way, yeah, we are. So we'll be taking a closer look at the Killzone Beta Decima terrain and objectives tomorrow. So presumably, we will have the answer to what I just said there. However, as the Warhammer TV crew fight their latest battle report across the creaking platforms of a dying planet. So I get the impression that we're not getting an actual article tomorrow, but instead we're having the Warhammer TV battle report come up, which, yes, I will do a video on. I don't know if I'm just going to take some screenshots and like throw up the rules, or if I'm going to try and do like a react. Don't know. I'll think about that. But then we have, and Eldari fans will also want to keep their eyes peeled for an in-depth look at the Blades of Cain rules. Hell yeah. I'm suddenly hyped to finally be getting some rules for Salvation. Look. Here's how it is, chaps, chapesses, and chapai. I really enjoyed cracking open the rules for Strike Force Justian, right? Really good fun, and that, as you know, that made me think about every time I've got to read the rules for the first time on my own. But like, oh my god, it's been so long. We've been in such a drought of kill team rules that, like, yeah, I'm just saying, it's been so long since we've had anything kill team related that I'm gorging. I'm finally able to read this, and I'm actually, the thing I'm mainly annoyed about is that I couldn't have been home earlier so that I could do a proper rundown on the price and Killzone Jungle, because that would have been, because we've had nothing. We've had literally nothing news-wise, and I'm hyped to finally get Salvation rules. So hopefully you are too. Hopefully you'll be here with me for the remainder of the week, because finally Killzone Salvation rules are hitting us, and that's hype. Anyway, you made it to the end of the video, thanks, because that's awesome of you. I'll see you tomorrow at some point to watch the Warhammer TV Battle Report. Bye.